Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. We begin with more of our Bush League Justice series. Tonight it's official. Karl Rove just says no to a congressional subpoena. His lawyer informing the House Judiciary Committee in a letter that he will not even appear on Thursday, the date the committee set for his testimony. Members of that committee, including on this program, have threatened to arrest Rove if he does not appear. The question tonight, will they follow through with the threats? Rove was subpoenaed in May to answer questions about whether he played a role in the prosecution of former Alabama Governor Don Siegelman. The Democrat has alleged that Rove and some top Alabama Republicans improperly worked to bring him down for political reasons. Rove wrote me an angry letter claiming he didn't meet with anyone at the Justice Department about the Siegelman case. But what about anyone in Alabama? The committee also wants to ask broader questions about politicizing the Justice Department. In a letter to the committee, Rove's attorney, Robert Luskin, wrote, quote, Mr. Rove will respectfully decline to appear before the subcommittee on July 10th on the grounds that executive privilege confers upon him immunity from process in response to a subpoena. Luskin again said Rove is willing to talk to the committee, but not under oath and without a transcript. In response, the committee again cited an email Luskin wrote to this program where he told us Rove would testify if subpoenaed. It seems pretty clear now he's not coming. So what should the House do now? Will Karl Rove really be the subject of contempt proceedings? Does the House really have the stomach for it? Joining me now, Michael Waldman from the Brennan Center at NYU School of Law and the author of A Return to Common Sense, and former counsel to the House Judiciary Committee, Julian Epstein. All right, Michael, let me start with you. Look, it is clear Karl Rove is not coming. I mean, the House Judiciary Committee can say as much as they want. We're still hoping. We're still encouraging him to come. We're still insisting that he come. He's not coming. So what do they do now?
Well, it's really quite remarkable, as you say, that you can just say no to a lawful subpoena from Congress. Congress has a bunch of tools that it can use. They can, of course, throw him in jail. There's a jail in the basement of the Capitol. That's probably the extreme remedy. There's all kinds of other things. They can cut off funding. They can hold up nominations. They can bring a lawsuit, as been the case in the Harriet Miers contempt case. But what Congress really has to have when it looks in its toolbox is not any of these tools, but some backbone. Congress is a co-equal branch of government, and it needs to stand up for its rights in this.
All right, well, Julian, look, you've been the guy behind the scenes as the lawyer advising the House Judiciary Committee on what they do in situations like this. Bring us behind the scenes. I mean, look, we keep hearing them talk about, and I'll play in a minute, one of the House Judiciary Committee members on this program talking about the possibility of arresting Rove. But behind the scenes, what are they saying?
Well, we're in an era now where the independent counsel statute has elapsed, and what Congress is left with in most cases, such as this, is to enforce subpoenas through contempt citations. It's a very onerous process. I think what you're going to see the House do on Thursday, and Mike, I think, hit it right on the head by pointing to the Miers case. In the Miers case, it looks like a federal judge, a Republican-appointed judge, may actually issue an injunction to former White House counsel Harriet Miers to appear before the Judiciary Committee to testify. That really gets you around a lot of the stickiness of enforcing a contempt citation. And I think what they will do in this case is they will go to court and they will follow exactly what they did in the Miers case, and they will try to get a federal judge to issue an injunction. And I think that's probably the smartest way for the committee to proceed at this point.
But in effect, Michael, it seems to me that Karl Rove has called the bluff of the Judiciary Committee. I mean, again and again, they've been saying you must testify, you at least must show up and invoke executive privilege. He's saying, I'm not even going to show up.
Well, what you really have to rely on in something like this is some basic respect for the rule of law. And it would, as Julian says, if you have two branches that you're in contempt of, that makes it even more onerous. But in all the administrations past, the very fear of looking like you were stonewalling and obstructing justice was enough to get White Houses of both Democratic and Republican presidents to cooperate. Tons of senior officials from the government have testified. I worked in the Clinton White House. Practically everybody there testified. It's just part of what goes on in Washington. What this White House is doing is really unusual in the extreme.
I asked Judiciary Committee member Debbie Wasserman Schultz whether they would follow through on a threat by Chairman Conyers to arrest Rove, and here's what she said.
Well, I think we'll pursue it, to the maximum extent possible, as Chairman Conyers said. Well, if that's what it takes. I mean, we really cannot allow the co-equal branch of government, the legislative branch, to be trampled upon by the executive branch.
But Julian, as a practical matter, that's exactly what's going to happen, right?
Well, it's always been the case that it is very hard to enforce contempt citations. Remember, in all of the years when Michael was in the White House, it was worked out through an accommodation process. You also had an independent counsel statute, which was a check on the executive branch now. At that point, you have a very, very different situation legally right now, and that's why I think you're actually going to see in the Federal District Court make new law in the Myers case. But, you know, for your viewers, there are some very important things to keep in mind here. Remember, there are allegations that senior White House officials were using the Justice Department in an attempt to undermine their political opponents. Yeah. Not just in Alabama, but in the state of Washington and a number of other places. And so this is something that gets very close to Watergate. Secondly, I think this show has done a very responsible job, Dan, not to suck up to you on air, but I think the media plays a very, very important role here. And a lot of what you saw during the Clinton years when Michael was there was a result of very, very intense media pressure combined with a very strong backbone on the part of Congress to actually get some type of resolution, which you need to see here.
Michael, finally, I mean, I've talked about the fact that Robert Luskin, the attorney for Karl Rove, had told us when we asked him if he would testify, he said sure, if he was subpoenaed. But we also asked him this question. Did Mr. Rove ever talk to the Department of Justice, anyone in the White House, or anyone in Alabama about the investigation and prosecution of former Governor Don Siegelman? That Luskin responded to us is on April 7th, 2008. As Mr. Rove has repeatedly stated, he did not speak with anyone in the White House or the Justice Department concerning the prosecution of Governor Siegelman. But he leaves out Alabama. And that remains, I think, the most important issue in this particular case is, did Karl Rove talk to anyone in Alabama? And since he says he didn't talk to anyone in the White House, that's always baffled me about how that's executive privilege. But, Michael, quick response, and then I got to move on.
Well, that's a non-denial denial. But look, you're exactly right. This is a major scandal, if it's true, which is conspiring with political opponents in Alabama to wire a prosecution. It's a very big deal. Yeah. And why he can't just get up and deny it under oath if he didn't do anything wrong is beyond me.
All right, we're hoping that we'll get someone on from the Judiciary Committee tomorrow to figure out what they're going to do. But Michael Waldman, Julian Epstein, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.